Hi, this is Brad Straley with Jacksonville for Life. I'd like to talk today about something that we normally don't speak of too often, and that is adoption. Today's guest is Russ Amberling with Choose Life. Russ, thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you, Brad. It's been a long time since we've seen each other.
Yes.
Do you remember that far back?
Yeah, I can remember the 90s. I can't remember the specifics, but I can remember the 90s still.
Well, we celebrated our 20th anniversary of volunteering with the Choose Life effort last February.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Now, we've all seen the Choose Life tags. How did this all get started?
A county commissioner in Marion County by the name of Randy Harris was driving along and following behind a Protect the Panther plate. And he found out that Panther plate was raising $1 million a year for about 157 Panthers in the state. And he just thought it was time to do something for children. And so he launched the Choose Life license plate effort in February of 2007. Is that right? Not 2007. 20 years. 97. February 1997. That's when it was.
Great. Now, the money that gets raised, this is something that I've always appreciated, and I know it has to be a labor of love. The money that's raised from the sale of the tags, where does that go? How does that get disseminated? I know that's changed since the inception.
Yes, it has. We've streamlined the process considerably over the way we originally wrote the bill. And the money, as of 2011, started coming to Choose Life, Inc., which is a Florida corporation. They receive about $440,000 a year from the license plate, and that money is distributed out to pregnancy centers, maternity homes, and nonprofit adoption agencies that are all life-affirming in the state of Florida.
Yeah, that is a blessing. We talked about, you said that it started in 1997. However, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the tags weren't available until August 11th, 2000. Is that correct?
That's correct. The opposition filed a lawsuit against it, trying to stop the state from being able to sell the plates. But in the middle of the lawsuit, when the case was being transferred from Palm Beach County to Leon County, as the law required, Governor Jeb Bush released the plates to the road on August the 11th, 2000, and they've been on the road ever since then. They've made about $11.5 million here in Florida, and it's been so successful here that we have been working nationally ever since shortly after it went on the road here, and we have now 32 license plate states in Washington, D.C., and it's raised about $26 million for the cause of life and adoption.
That is a miracle. So you talked about it started in 97, wasn't on the roads until August 11, 2000. I remember taking off work that day, going to Commonwealth here in Jacksonville, Commonwealth Avenue, DMV, and ask him about it, and no one knew what I was talking about. They had to get a manager, and then she had to make a telephone call, to figure out what I was talking about. And I think, I've been sitting there talking about this for the last 3 years, and it's finally here. It's like a little kid at Christmas morning. It's like, where are the presents? Where are the presents? And we put those on our cars, and they've been on since. Now, something I like you said about the process, and when I read your book, and we're going to talk about your book later, I think about we see it as a failure, and then we see God's plan. He sheds His light on it, and we can understand a little bit about it. When you said that once we find out that it didn't pass that first year in the Florida legislature, that you were contacted by 35 other states about the Choose Life tags.
That's correct. In 1998, we did get the plate approved in the legislature, and then Governor Lawton Chiles vetoed it, claiming it was too politically controversial. And, of course, as you remember, tragically, he died in office. And Jeb Bush was elected the following year, and he put the plate he signed the plate legislation that had been presented to him. It was a very, very close call. The license plate passed by one vote in the last 15 minutes of the Senate session that year. And then in December of that year, now of Florida, filed a lawsuit against the state of Florida to stop them from selling the plate. And that's the lawsuit that was eventually transferred to Tallahassee, and Jeb, in the hiatus between the time it was the case was transferred from Palm Beach County and is docketed in Leon County, Jeb released the plates to the road. So it was that veto back in 97. I'm getting old. But anyhow, that caused the national publicity. We went home that night and saw on MSNBC News Online a picture of State Representative Tom Feeney holding up the replica plate of the Choose Life plate. And the caption on the website said, "Florida Governor vetoes anti-abortion license plate." So that's the name they have tagged it with, and the media continues to use that, although the license plate is really about life and adoption.
Yeah, I hate to say I've sort of given up personally about anti-abortion and pro-life tag. I'm thinking any media is good media, and obviously this was the case since you had all those states contact you. So you're saying that the Florida chapter of National Organization of Women did not support education and the opportunity for adoption?
Well, that's a little bit of a long story, too. Commissioner Harris contacted the Ocala Star-Banner and asked them if they wanted to do an editorial on it, and of course they did. And they, in their research, contacted ACLU in Miami, and they at the time said as long as the opposition could have their own plate if they applied for it, they didn't have any problems with it. But that lasted about 30 days, and they flip-flopped, and then they had a lot of problems with it, and they have been fighting it pretty much across the country. I think we've had about 12 different lawsuits trying to stop the plate, and they were successful in New York and Illinois. They've succeeded in stopping the plate. The most recent litigation on this was June of last year, wherein the National Supreme Court said that the language on a license plate is state speech, whereas heretofore they had always said it was free speech, which means states couldn't discriminate. But now with that recent ruling, the state has the authority to allow any plate they want on the road and to bar any plate they want on the road. If it's state speech, they can't be discriminated against, or can't be sued, rather, for discriminating against our viewpoint. So it's gotten very difficult to work on these last 18 states, but we're still here and fighting and planning on doing that. And part of the effort to get that done, we wrote a book that we published last May called Contemplate Life, comma, the birth of the Choose Life plate. And we now have a number of those copies on our website available for sale for $10 plus shipping. And we are also giving away a free copy of the book to the director of every pregnancy center across the country that contacts us and said they are a pregnancy center and gives us their contact information, and we will mail them a free copy of the book. The reason we've done this, Brad, is that we feel after feedback, we've already shipped over 500 books. After feedback from many of these readers, they're telling us that the last third of the book, which is filled with actual stories of birth moms and pregnancy center directors, how the funds impacted their life and saved babies' lives. So we believe that if that book could get into the libraries and on the desks of the volunteers and staff of pregnancy centers, that it could be used to change the life of an abortion-vulnerable woman, wherein she would choose adoption or parenting instead of aborting.
Great. And we want to talk about your book a little bit more after the break. I want to ask before we go to break. How can someone get a Choose Life plate in his or her state?
Well, the procedures vary across the country. Virtually every state in the country has a specialty plate statute, and some of them, the state legislatures have delegated the authority to approve them to the DMV. Some of them require that the legislature itself approve the plate. But basically we found that the opposition would come forward as we try to get our plate. They would come forward and ask for a plate of their own, not with any intention of getting the plate because they never tried to get it until we got ours. What they're trying to do is create a controversy that they can litigate and forestall or even ultimately prevent the Choose Life plate from going on the road. Our dream and our purpose and mission for the last 20 years has been to help groups and individuals in other states that don't have the Choose Life plate, help them through the process of getting it done. So we've kind of dubbed ourselves full-time volunteer missionary consultants to the Choose Life plate effort. Here in Florida, of course, where we have the plate, two ways you can get the license plate. You can either go online. That website is available on our website, choose-life.org, under how to apply. Or you can go down yourself and ask them to switch you to a Choose Life license plate. Send us a copy of the registration, and we will reimburse you the $50 that you paid to switch your vehicle to that license plate.
Wow.
When that's done, the only requirement is we encourage you to keep that plate on your car for a minimum of 5 years. The additional cost each year for the plate is $25. The state keeps 5 of that, and we receive the rest, and we in turn return that out to the pregnancy centers, maternity homes, and nonprofit adoption agencies in the state. The $50 rebate is a program that we've instituted to lighten the burden of that first year switching to the plate, because it's about $50 switching fees and then the $25 specialty plate fee.
Right. This is Brad Straley with Jacksonville Life, and we're speaking today with Russ Emerling from Choose Life. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Russ is going to tell how he and the IRS helped Jacksonville for Life form in 2004. We will be right back.
Are you or is someone you know facing an unplanned pregnancy? You are not alone. Women's Help Center is here with support and help. All of our services are free and confidential. Call Women's Help Center at 904-398-5143 or go to our website at www.pregnancyjacks.com.
Are you or someone you know struggling with the emotional or spiritual pain of having experienced an abortion? A Rachel's Vineyard Weekend Retreat is a beautiful opportunity to experience the mercy, healing, and peace of Jesus, who is close to the brokenhearted. Please visit www.rachelsvineyard.org or call 904-221-3232 or email rachelsvineyardjacks@yahoo.com. Be not afraid. Come and be restored.
Hi, this is Brad Straley with Jacksonville for Life. Today's guest is Russ Emerling with Choose Life. And before the break, we mentioned how Russ and actually the IRS helped Jacksonville for Life become a nonprofit back in 2004. And Russ, I don't know if you remember this or not, but how much we harassed you to get your help with all the forms to become 501c3. You remember that, or have you blocked that from your mind, considering?
No, I remember it. I just don't remember it as harassing. I remember it as you asking me to do what we were trying to do all along, and that's just get the word out about the Choose Life license plate and to make sure that you and we were in compliance with the state and federal laws that were applicable. So it was it was an interesting ride, and as in most of the cases with the Choose Life license plate, persistence paid off. We were doing the right thing at the right time, and we had the people there that wanted to make it happen, and so it was kind of one of those ideas, or a God thing, those ideas made in heaven.
You were right. It is a God, or it was a God thing, because one, he got us in touch with you, which the listeners may not know. One of your past professions was with the Internal Revenue Service. And we got a young gentleman in Kentucky who was more than patient with us, helping us, guiding us, really walking us through the process. And it took 9 months, and of course, how ironic is it? It's 9 months for us to get the 501c3. So if I haven't said it in a while, thank you for all your help on that, Russ.
Well, it's been our pleasure, I can assure you. I've told often many of my friends that Jill and I could not have sat down and written out a more interesting, fulfilling, and purposeful retirement than the Lord laid in our lap when we met Randy Harris, County Commissioner of Marion County, Florida.
Yeah, that is great. Talking about your book, you said why that it was published and the purpose. How did the book come about? I mean, that's a big step from 1997. Let's have a tag to a national organization trying to get tags in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. And then on top of that, a book.
Well, the process, of course, as I said earlier, is it's a state by state job to get that done, and we have it in 32 states and Washington D.C., and we're still working in the other 18 states to try and get that approved. The states that have won, if you will, in the courts. And with the new Supreme Court ruling, this new Supreme Court ruling, it's going to be difficult to try and get the rest of these states approved. So we have come up with something that we call Plan B. Plan B is where any state that will not allow the Choose Life license plate to be approved, we have created what we call a half plate. It's 4 inches high and 12 inches wide, and it looks like a miniature Choose Life license plate. And you would fasten that with a couple of nuts and bolts to the bottom of your rear license plate. So if your state does not have the Choose Life license plate approved, contact us and we'll fill you in on this new process called half plate states. That we hope will put us in all 50 states eventually.
That's great.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember the second part of your question, and it slipped my mind.
Oh no, I was just talking about how you went from starting this in Florida in 1997 to with 2016 you're writing a book.
Well, the book came about after about 7 or 8 years. We worked with a Dr. Elizabeth Rex in New York and New Jersey, who was trying with us to get the Choose Life plate approved in those two states. They ultimately were successful in New Jersey when Governor Christie came to power, and they were not successful in New York because of the Supreme Court ruling. But she kept telling me all along, saying, Russ, you've got to write this down. You've got to write this down. This is an historic event, the first pro-life license plate in the United States, and here it is spreading around the country. And me being up to my ears and also not a very good writer, I kept putting it off and finally told her, I said, if God wants me to write this book, he's going to have to provide me with a ghostwriter. And probably about 6 or 8 months later, he provided me with a ghostwriter. As it turned out, we didn't happen to use her, but it got me started. And we did find a ghostwriter in Clearwater, and he really sort of laid out the process to me. It was scary at the time, but as we dug into it, taking it bite by bite, we eventually got it done. It took us 2.5 years, and it finally went to Amazon.com in May of this year. Governor Jeb Bush autographed the book for us, and he also wrote the foreword to the book. Remember now, he was the guy that released the plate before the lawsuit was completely settled.
That's right. That's right. And it's a wonderful book. I have a copy in my hand, and I want to read something here. Two reasons. One, I want to encourage everyone to get a copy of the book. Get 2 copies and give it to someone, because I think it's just wonderful. But we talked earlier about man's failure and God's plan, and you talk about the young person in Connecticut trying to get to choose life. And I'm reading here that Connecticut was basically shot down. She says, it was one of the most spiritually challenging moments of my entire life. Why, Lord? Why? I prayed God strength and courage. Within an hour, she was driving and she saw an old red truck. She said, quote, I drive closer to the old red truck that had just snuck in front of me at the intersection, at the bright yellow plate that had two cute children smiling at me. It was a Florida Choose Life license plate that was hanging on for dear life. And she goes on to say, my heavy heart was suddenly overwhelmed by joy. So my thought is, I've had these personally on my car since August 11, 2000. And wonder, how much of a blessing that people all across the nation that have the tags, how much of an encouragement it is, not only to the young mothers who need the financial support, need to hear about adoption, but there's other pro-life folks that might need just a little bit of encouragement to go on. And one last thing.
That's true, and of course. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, and I just want to finish, reading here as... I think this sums up the book for me is fantastic. To anyone who has a heart for the unborn, take a small step out of your comfort zone and do something about it. Find your place in the pro-life movement. Switching your vehicle to the Choose Life license plate is an incredible way of sharing the message of life with thousands of other drivers on the road. And I want to ask you, Russ, with just a few minutes that we have left, what would you say to someone that's a follower of Christ who's pro-life, but does not have a Choose Life tag? What would you tell them to go ahead and encourage them to go ahead and do that today?
Well, certainly I would, and the book is filled with stories and testimonies of individuals who have seen the license plate and used the funds to help them make a better decision than abortion. We have said all along that if you cannot afford to get the real license plate, it's like after we give you your rebate, it works out to about $2 a month to have the real plate on your car. But if you can't afford that because of your financial situations, you contact me, Russ Ammerling, 352-624-2854. I'll give that again later. And I will give you a front license plate for free. Just tell me you heard me on Brad's show this morning and that you can't afford to get the real plate, but you would like to have the message on the front of your vehicle, and I'll send you a free Choose Life license front plate. It will just be a promotional plate. It won't be the one registered with the DMV.
Great. And, we talk a lot about in the book about Florida, and there's also local stories about the Florida Baptist Children's Home, First Coast Women's Services, and Emergency Pregnancy Services in the book as well. We are just about out of time, Russ. If someone wants to learn more about the Choose Life tag or your pro-life ministry, how can they reach you? What's the best way?
The website is choose-life.org. Choose-life.org, and my email is Russ, R-U-S-S, short for Russell, at choose-life.org, or you may call me at 352-624-2854, or toll free 877-454-1203.
And while we close, we are speaking with Russ Ammerling, the author of Choose Life, Contemplate Life, The Birth of the Choose Life plate. It is available on Amazon, and you can also order it from Russ's website. Russ, can't thank you enough for joining us today, for being a mentor and a friend for all these years, and for all you do to promote a culture of life. We'd like to thank the station for being faithful to his word and this opportunity to spread the pro-life message. And thank you for listening today. For more information about local pro-life efforts, please visit us at jacksonvilleforlife.org. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And until next time, do something. Save babies in Jacksonville.